Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ludney and today I bring you a brand new video. What we're gonna talk about is it still worth it to come and live in Montreal? Is Montreal still worth it? Because I know a lot of people wanna come live in the city and Canada and everything, so let's get into it. So let's start with the question of jobs. Like, is it easy to get a job in Montreal? What is the minimum wage? What is the living wage? And how is it to get a job in Montreal? So basically. So when you're looking for a job in Montreal, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. You can go, depending on where you want to work, there's a lot of websites that you can check to put your CV up. You can have a link and you can do all of those things, and then you can look for jobs and apply. Look for on Google and put the keywords and everything and search for a job like that, and then send your CV, send a presentation letter, stuff like that. But when it comes to the minimum wage in Montreal, the minimum wage is $14.25. It just got bumped last year, and so now it's $14.25. Before that, it was I think 13 something. And the living wage, how much you need to basically live in Montreal. I went and I searched a little bit to see how much people needed to come and live in Montreal. From what I've seen, you need around like $13.50 an hour. So it would mean that the minimum wage kinda is a little bit below the living wage the minimum wage is a little bit below the living wage. So technically, you can live in Montreal with just the minimum wage. So I did some search and see how much people need a month basically to live in Montreal. And from what I've seen, I consulted like a multiple website. From what I've seen, it's around like 1,200 for your spending and housing. Maybe you can find a room for $650 or $700, so we'd put it on like $1,900 for one person basically every month to have, so that they can live in Montreal. So it would mean around probably $23,000, something close to $23,000 a year basically to live in Montreal. That's what you would need, and technically the minimum wage kind of covers this. But because the minimum wage basically would give you like $14.25 if you work 40 hours a week and you work every week of the year, which is not the case, but let's say you did, you would have around like $2,280 every month. That's before taxes and stuff, and then around $27,360 a year before taxes. Let's say the tax you around 15%, which means like $4,000 you get taken out for the taxes, so which leave you around $23,000, which would be a little bit of what you would need. But you would be very in the razor's edge basically to just work with the minimum wage, unless you're living at your parents' house or stuff like that, or with friends so that you're not paying rent, then maybe you could live okay. But anyway, so as you can see, the minimum wage is not a lot and the living wage is close to the minimum wage. So it's, I mean, there's cities where that the minimum wage cannot even cover the living wage. So if you compare Montreal to like Toronto or to New York or stuff like that, then yeah, Montreal is doing a little bit better, but it's not close to what people would really need if you want to save and if you would like to purchase a house in the future. So let's talk about housing. I had multiple videos in my channel about housing. I'll put one up if you guys want to check it out. But if you are renting or buying, it's two different math. But clearly, if you want to buy a house in Montreal, that's gonna be very complicated, because especially like a single family house is basically impossible for you to do by yourself unless you are really rich basically. So if you have a lot of money, like lots of money, then yeah, you can buy a family house. But if you just by yourself, there's basically no way. because you would need to be making a lot of money. But the government have a lot of things in place to help you to maybe buy an apartment or condo or something like that. So there is clearly the RRSP and the RRSP, which is like offer like a tax deduction basically when you contribute to it every year basically, and you have an amount that you cannot go above depending on your income. And the TFSA, it's like a saving account that you can do, but it's after taxes basically. And the government of Canada just launched like a brand new, the government of Trudeau just launched a brand new program. It's called the Silly app that's supposed to start in this January. I don't know if it has started yet, but it's a combination of those two programs, but a little bit to help first-time buyers. So there is ways basically, maybe it's gonna be easier, but it's still gonna be hard in Montreal. But you have the option when you live in Montreal to also go a little bit outside of Montreal if you want to go live in Laval, Longueuil, those places that's not far away from Montreal that maybe are still a little bit more affordable than Montreal is. But in Montreal, there's also the option for you to buy a multi-family house, maybe with a partner or with friends. And if you're making maybe, I don't know, $100,000 a year and you have a good credit, you can probably buy a family house. Not a family house, a multi-family house in Montreal, a duplex or something like that, because you would have income coming from renters. So that way the bank probably is gonna lend you more money. So that's one thing that I've done, and that's something that people can do if you basically want to have a house in Montreal, but trying to find a way to pay for it and to be able to afford it. So those are the things. But regular people basically, when been going up and up, even with inflation now, it's still going up. So there's not much, it's not a good thing to say. But after all, Montreal is still less expensive than a lot of other cities if you compare them. But I feel like if you're coming to Montreal and you think you're gonna, depending on where you're coming from basically, if you're coming from New York, then yeah, but in Montreal are cheap. But the government taxes us a lot, so that way you don't have a lot of money left in your pocket, so you need to be making a good decent wage. So we can talk about the average income in the city. And the average income in the city in 2020 was $49,600. So this is like the average. And the median income, which is very important if you really want to have a good picture of the money people are making, is $38,700. For me, I feel like this is close to, you can see it's only $10,000 more or less than the minimum wage. So it's not a lot of money, I feel like. And so this gives you an idea of how much money people are making, and it's not a lot. Those stats are from StatBib, which is the government website that gives us statistics on income and stuff in different areas clearly of our lives. So you have an idea that like you need to be making close to the average or more than the average to basically be comfortable and to be able to save to go on one vacation a year if you're lucky, if you get your 2 weeks. So yeah, life is not amazing, and those are information for people above 16. So yeah, so we can talk about other stuff compared to like what else is happening in Montreal, how is the city feeling, and things that are not like based on just numbers. And there's been a little bit more taxation when it comes to parking tickets, stuff like that, but not a lot of things have changed. The weather's still bad, so it's something that you should concern yourself with if you're someone who drives basically. And the food, the culture is still amazing, so I'm not gonna lie about that. But there's always issue with racism in Montreal, and I know, like, don't come for me people, but like this is just a fact. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but there was a story of a guy being like arrested, stopped, maybe not arrested, but stopped and like handcuffed for driving his own car, basically. But anyway, so there's a lot of issues like that, and the government, I feel like, is not really helping with the divisive rhetoric and the campaign that happened last year. So there is those issues in Montreal, basically. But other than that, like, is Montreal still worth it? It depends, I feel like, on where you're coming from. And when it comes to immigration issues in Quebec specifically, because it's the province that decide the way that immigration work in Quebec. So you need to receive like a certificate from the government of Quebec to be able to live here, basically. And that's been complicated. There's a lot of backlog again. And lately they added like a French test that you have to do because we need to protect French in Quebec, which is, yeah, a reality, I guess, that Quebecers feel like French is under attack and that they need to do everything possible for them to save it. But from what I understand, the test, people are passing them like 99% of the time. But I don't think it having a real impact, because I still feel like the government is keep talking about this issue, even though people are passing the test. So if there's an issue, people are still passing the test. So I don't understand. And the backlog that happened because of COVID, also there's a lot of like reality and how difficult it can be to come and live in Quebec, especially the government in place. But the government of Canada is trying to have more immigrants in Canada because of, you know, the old population in Canada and the workforce, young and able. So there is still a way that you can come, maybe not directly in Quebec. You probably go to a different province more easily than you can come to Quebec, and then maybe later on you can migrate to Quebec, because yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get too too political, but yeah. So if, like I said, if you want to say the city's still worth it, for me it is. I've been living here all the time I've been in Canada, so I like the city, but there's a lot of things that you're not gonna like. Like I said, the taxes, the living wage is not a lot, the medium income is clearly too small to be able to live comfortably. So there's a lot of improvement that needs to be happening before Montreal or Quebec could be like the perfect, amazing city that it wants to be, I guess. But in Montreal, if you want to drive your bike, that's been a little bit more easy to do. You know, the government been trying to do that, and there's a lot of cool things also happening. It's not all negative. Video on this topic that you can check it out. I'll put a link in the description box below. And yeah, if you have any question, let me know. Hope this video was helpful for you in 2023. If that's something that you want to do, come to Montreal. If you have any question, let me know down below, and see you in the next one.